crafty friends. I'm Monica with Last Chance, and today I'm going to show you how to make your own cornmeal and corn flour. To do this, you will need your corn, you will need a sieve, you will need a bowl, preferably porcelain, and you will need a final container, and you will also need either a blender. You can get a cheap one for about $20 and that will work. If you need the free version of this, you can use a mortar and pestle, or you can still use the same porcelain bowl, but you will need a stone that will not grind down when you're making the cornmeal and the corn flour. Now, I had some problems with my glass gem corn this year. My corn did not produce very much, so this corn is actually store-bought, but it still works and the process is the exact same. One other major difference is most of the time you will be making corn flour that is, say, 5 pounds, so you will need 5 pounds of corn. I'm not doing that right now. I'm just using a little bit. The process is the exact same, but you will be doing this with a lot more. The first thing you need to do is wash the corn. So pour the corn into the bowl and then wash it and see which kernels come to the top. I've put some water in the bowl and it only has 1 or 2 kernels rising to the top, so scoop those out. Those kernels are not good and they will not work. Now dry the corn. Here the corn is dry, so it's a simple matter to put it in your blender or put it in your mortar and pestle or your bowl and start blending or grinding. This will get noisy, so I'm going to turn off the volume. Usually, if you are having to grind a lot of corn, then you will need to do this about 1 pound at a time. But because I am grinding just a little corn, I don't have to do that. This is cornmeal, mostly. To separate the cornmeal from the corn flour, you can use this as regular cornmeal. To separate the cornmeal from the corn flour, take your sieve and the cup, and you're going to sift it. You will do this process about 4 or 5 times, sifting what will be the flour from the cornmeal. The corn flour is on the side, the cornmeal is in the middle, so you have to mix all that up. Start sifting. this will take a while. This is a good one to do if you have children and you want to get children involved in this, or if you're using the mortar and pestle version and you have an elderly person who wants to be useful. This is a good one for that. But you'll look inside, and that little tiny bit is the corn flour that you have right now. For the cornmeal, this is still usable. We can still use this inside of a bowl because it's going to go back in the blender. And again, clean out the sieve. It's not hard, but it does take a while. And that's the whole point. People pay for the convenience. And they pay because they think they have to. And the truth is, they don't. If you have an extra hour or two, you can make all of this at home. And you can save the money. This is after the second time around. There's a little bit of cornmeal in there, but that's mostly corn flour. It's not yellow because the original corn we started with was not yellow, but this has a much meatier, much heartier flavor to it. So, take the current cornmeal and do it again. Here is the corn flour after the third try, or after the third revolution with the blender. Here's the cornmeal. After 4 times with the blender, this is the corn flour, and this is the cornmeal. You can use both in cooking, and this will have a mealier, heartier taste to it than the cornmeal that you buy at the store. The cornmeal that you buy at the store will be sweeter because they use yellow corn or white corn. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and God bless you.